Hello guys, welcome back to another video of Tarantula Tales. In this video, I'm going to make two tiny little enclosures of Brazilian blue and Cuban bronze slings. It's going to be pretty simple, but the information I'm going to be sharing is definitely going to be useful for those keepers who are newly into the hobby and are those with very little experience. So let's get into the video. For this enclosure setup, I have taken two tiny plastic containers which you can get readily available from any plastic or shops nearby. These are the slings. This is Formictopus auratus, commonly known as Cuban bronze tarantula. This sling is around just not more than 2 centimeter in diagonal span, and this is another sling of Brazilian blue, scientifically known as Lasioscyanos. And this one is just 1 centimeter in diagonal span, and for obvious reasons we can definitely say that we do not require much space to accommodate these two. So just as I said, to accommodate these I'm going to be using this cup which has diameter of 2 inches and height of at most 1 inch. I've already made a hole for ventilation. Just a little tiny hole is enough, and both these species are very hard in nature and do not require much ventilation like many other species. Just we have to make sure to put a tiny hole such that the sling should not escape from the hole, because tarantula slings in general are obviously great escape artists. To start off with, I am going to fill the enclosure with substrate. For this I have taken cocoa peat as substrate. You may think that the size of this enclosure is too tiny for these two slings, but trust me, the thumb rule is to keep your terrestrial sling in an enclosure which has width around 3 to 5 inches, 3 to 5 times its diagonal span. So these are around 1 centimeter and 2 centimeter respectively. So these cups are obviously adequate for them to grow, and they can stay inside this enclosure comfortable for at least the time till they grow to 2 or 3 times its their current size now. Yes, ventilation is done, substrate is done, and the ceiling is taken care of. Now it's time to take care of one more important thing, that is its moisture source. In this cup we are not going to add what it is, which is gonna fill so much space. We cannot find a tiny water cap which can be fit inside this enclosure. So in order to retain moisture, we are going to use this sphagnum moss. I'll be simply dropping this piece of sphagnum moss, and I'll just make sure to keep this piece of sphagnum moss wet anytime. While maintaining tarantulas in this much smaller enclosures, it's important to avoid overflooding. We may think that in order to retain moisture, we have to mist a part of the substrate. And while I was newly into the hobby, I used to spray half of the substrate with the water. And when I check the substrate after some time, I would find out that whole of the substrate will be wet. Because the material we are using as substrate is cocoa peat, and these cocoa peats are great absorbents of water. So even if we moist a little part of the substrate, the water will be spread throughout the enclosure. So it's important not to overwater them. As you can see, I just add a few drops of water to moisten just the sphagnum moss. Now it's time to introduce the sling one by one into the enclosure. First we are going to go with this 1 centimeter sling of Brazilian blue. This one is a very hardy species, terrestrial one, which will be having an iridescent blue color when they reach certain size. Now color has not been sprouted yet. This species is one of the best choice for beginners. It almost satisfies all of the basic characteristics a new tarantula keeper would expect from their first tarantula. It is pretty hardy in nature, it is very docile in nature, its parental color will be very beautiful. It has a medium kind of growth rate. I'll try to attach the adult reference picture of this specimen somewhere else in the screen. And just like Brazilian blue, this Formictopus auratus is also a very good choice for beginners. It is also a pretty hard terrestrial species with very docile nature, with medium growth rate, and obviously very beautiful parental colorations. So this has been skittish. Luckily I just didn't miss it. I do not know if the camera had captured it or not. It just ran off, and straight away got into another cup which I placed somewhere out of the frame. I know that not many people are comfortable handling the tarantulas, so I'm going to do this with the traditional way of using the paintbrush, and yes, it has settled in comfortably. It is much bigger when compared with Brazilian blue. And now that both of these enclosure setup is completed, we have so many questions like what is going to be the feeding routine for these two? How are you going to feed these little tiny things? Well, I'll be answering these questions in our subsequent videos. Well, very soon I'll be making another video in which I'll be explaining how to take care of their feeding, what their feeding routine is going to be like, and their mold cycle, and cleaning up their boluses, that is their food waste, etc. So stay tuned, share this video with your fellow mates in the hobby. Yeah, keep supporting. See you.